Welcome to video number 2 on comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. And in video 2, we're going to talk real life application. So let's read number 5. You use 8 fluid ounces of fruit juice in a recipe to make 64 fluid ounces of fruit punch. It says a fruit punch that you can buy at the store has 10% real fruit juice. I'm sure you've seen that before. That the juice that you buy, or the punch that you buy, contains a percentage of real fruit juice. The question is, which has a higher percent of fruit juice? So we need to compare percents. Which has a higher percent? Well, it just so happens that the store one is already given to us. The store is 10%. So we got to find out what ours is. Let's see, the one that we make gives us a ratio of 8 out of 64. So I can write that as a fraction. Because it is a ratio, I can write it as a fraction, and I can take that fraction. We just learned how to convert that fraction to a percent. Well, I know that 64 is not compatible with 100. I'm sure there's something I could multiply by 64 to get 100, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So I'm just going to take my calculator, and I'm going to divide 8 by 64. And when I do that, it gives me 0.125. And when I write that as a percent, that's 12.5%. So I know that 12.5% is greater than 10%. So the one I make, the punch I make has a greater percent of real fruit juice. Nice. Yeah. I just love this stuff, man. It just gives me goosebumps. I love math so much. All right, and I just love doing it with you guys. It says number 6. Read with me. The table shows the portion of students at a middle school that are in each grade. Order the grades from least to greatest number of students. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can make math less boring by having fun with the way you read these math problems. All right? So our question is, we have to order from least to greatest. And of course, we learned that to order from least to greatest, we have to compare. And to compare, we need to write them all as fractions, all as decimals, or all as percents so that we can compare them. And then, of course, in the previous video, Mr. Ross was babbling on about how I prefer, look at that, I'm talking about myself in the third term, and then I talk about myself in the the third tense versus present tense. I'm trying to throw in some English here. It ain't working too well. Anyway, so I'm going to convert all these to decimals because that's what I like. So 33 1/3%. Well, 1/3 is 3 repeating. So to write this as a decimal, you could really think of it as 33.3 repeating percent, which as a decimal is 0.3 repeating, 0.3 repeating. And 7th grade is already in decimal form. 8th grade, I'm going to use my calculator. I see that 48 is not compatible with 100, so I'm just going to grab my calculator, divide 17 by 48, and that gives me 0.35416 repeating. And so now I have decimals that I can compare. And the first thing I'm going to notice that the smallest number is 0.3125. So my 7th grade is first. They're the smallest class. And then 0.3 repeating would be the largest, would be smaller than 8th grade. So 6th grade and then 8th grade being the largest at 0.35. Now you notice, if I were to add all these up, if I took my calculator and added 0.333333 plus 0.3125 plus 0.3541666666, I think the calculator would end up at 0.999999 repeating. And so that's pretty much 100% there. All right? You got to make sure it equals 100%. Moving on to our last example of this video. Tell whether each shows the, tell which letter shows the graph of the number. So here's where I like to use my color. I'm going to start off, well, we'll start off with purple. So I'm going to go purple with 7, and 7 is 0.884. I look down at my graph. Oh, my graph is in percents. So I got to convert that to 88.4%. And I come down here. Ooh, here's 88.4%. That's B. So 7 is B. Choosing a different color, let's go green. Number 8 is going to be green. 8/9, well, I have to convert that to percent. So I grab my calculator and I multiply that. I multiply the numerator by the denominator, and I get 0.8 repeating, which is 88.8% because it's repeating. And I come when I find 88 point what? Well, which would be 88.88888. Well, it's C. It's C for number 8. Yeah. Because it's not quite 8/9. All right, so moving on, grab another color. I'm going to go blue. I'm going to go 9 is blue. 22 over 25, converting that to percent, I can multiply by 4 and get, I can get 88 over 100. And that's 88%. And I find 88% is, where's 88%? Oh, that's way over here. 88%. 88% is A. So 9 is A. And I need one last color. Let's go red. And I'm going to do red down here. And so, or there's only one left, but I'm going to do it anyway. 0.89 is 89%, and there's 89%, so it's D. Pretty easy stuff, just practicing converting and recognizing on a number line. And again, going back to number 9, or excuse me, number 8, that's 0.888888, so as many 8s as I need. Moving that decimal 2 places, I do have 88.88%, which is really dang darn close to 88.9. So that's why it's right there, and it's not on exactly 88.8. Okay, so recognize that this is greater than 88.8. All right, moving on to our quick write. It says to earn a bonus in a video game. Well, most of you boys, you like those video games. You must find at least 60% of the hidden gems. You find 25 out of 40. Do you get the bonus? And explain, of course. So recognizing 25 out of 40 being a ratio that you can write as a fraction, and then you can figure out, does that fraction give me a percentage greater than or less than 60% so that I can get my bonus? Ladies and gentlemen, come to class with questions. Come to class with questions regarding your comparing and ordering of your fractions, decimals, and percents. Make sure that you begin working on your assignment. Use aggressiveness and urgency. And as we talked about before, when you use aggressiveness and urgency, you can attack that assignment. The more questions you get to, the chances are the more questions you might find that you can ask in class. Because that's why we do them together in class, to ask our neighbors, to ask our friends, to ask the teacher, to learn how to do these things together. All right? And then use your time effectively. Come to class after your 45 minutes. Well, when you come to class tomorrow, we will answer questions. As always, it is an absolute pleasure working with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you tomorrow.